What? Is she live?
Am I live? Is this on?
Okay, fine.
I don't see. We might be having technical difficulties.
Are you under
We'll work it
brown
out. So on the top one, we're just recording.
Yeah. Okay, there we go.
Are we live yet?
No, but you.
Okay, let's see.
It's
Let's
not
see if
live.
we'll give people a minute to go ahead and
There it goes.
join us. Okay. So, hi, my name is Marianne. I am the owner of Brown Box Bites, and tonight we will be baking using an old family recipe. Shout out to Drunk Aunt Sandy. We will be drinking as we go ahead and bake. Cheers. Tonight I know that there's a Stroh's game going on representing Go Stroh's. But figured we'd just take some time out while the game is going. Last I checked it was 0-0, so you know, Go Stroh's. I'm baking here with my nephews. They're out of the frame, but there they are.
Thank you.
We're just having a good old family night and figured we'd go ahead and get into it. Guys, can y'all figure out what I'm baking from the ingredients? I have some bananas, walnuts, eggs, butter, sugar, flour.
I'm gonna say strawberry cake.
Sounds good. Next.
Bananas Foster.
I'm sorry, but I don't use my alcohol for baking.
Oh.
My alcohol is
Dang.
strictly for drinking. Oh. Cheers. Anyhow,
Oh my god, you're making cheesecake. I know it.
banana cheesecake, yes.
Yes.
No. So tonight I will be making mini banana nut loaves using this little pan here. That makes a great gift for takeaways. You can just package them up. Anyhow, before we get into all of the ingredients, two things to know about me, or one thing to know about me is I like to keep a very clean, tidy area. So I always have Lysol wipe available, as well as clean paper towels. Shout out to Lysol, Clorox. Anyhow, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. And if you hear meowing in the background, that's my son Ash. He's floating around here somewhere, very upset that he's not the focus of the attention. Anyhow, so we are going to, so we have two bowls here. We have a smaller bowl for the wet ingredients, and then we have a larger bowl for the dry ingredients. We're gonna start off with a, what is this, 4 ounces or 8 tablespoons of clarified butter, melted. Excuse me while I turn my back for just a split second and get these spatula, because I should have had this ready. Sorry about that. So 8 tablespoons of melted butter, which is also a stick if you're just getting it out of the package. And we want to use unsalted. We use unsalted because we want to control the salt in everything that we bake. 99.9% of the time that you're baking something, it's going to call for unsalted butter. Very rarely should the butter already be salted. I have a farm sink, so everything is just dumped as I go. Now to that, I'm going to add 1 cup of granulated sugar. Sorry for the loudness. Typically I would use a KitchenAid over here. Today we're gonna go ahead and kick it old school and use some elbow grease. And just mix this in, let it incorporate fully. Just takes less than a minute, really. Make sure your butter is melted. You can melt it in the microwave for about 30 seconds. And slightly cold. We don't want it to congeal, but we don't want it hot enough that it's going to cook our eggs. Do you have any questions on the feed? Comments? Anything? Nope.
Everything smells really good.
That's the butter that you're smelling. Yes.
And as we know, butter makes everything
Better, yes. Okay, to that we are going to add 2 eggs. Come on, egg.
You've got a
Okay.
friend.
I'm going to have to wash my hands. Give me a second. Anytime we're touching raw eggs, we always want to make sure that we are washing our hands. We want to avoid salmonella. Hey little guys, how are you? And do that one more time with the second egg. That was a much better crack. There we go. Again, wash your hands. And beat that just a little bit, not too much, we don't want to scramble the eggs. And then you want to take your ripened, I would prefer that all of the bananas are about this dark or darker. The darker they are, then the more sugar they release. But these will do just fine. Sorry, Ash, you cannot have the bananas.
So is it the same, the black of the banana, the sweet of the
Yes.
muffin?
Yes, exactly. We're just gonna break the banana in here. Now, when the bananas are blacker or darker, pull off all the ends. We don't want those in there. When they are darker, they are much, much, much like softer. That noise in the background is the oven telling me that it's time to get started. Again, pull off the end, we don't want that. That's just unnecessary texture. It doesn't add any flavor. So, there's no flavor, we don't want it. Dropping that in. And getting the last banana. I'm sorry, kid, you cannot have this. I don't know what it's like in your home, but baking with kids and animals is always a little more entertaining. And we're just going to dip those in there. And again, wash my hands. Cannot stress this enough, but it's good to have a clean kitchen. There's my paper towel. It's okay. I have my handy dish rag. It says, I bake so I don't kill people. Don't judge me. I bake, I drink. We don't kill people. It works. Okay, so we're just going to mash these bananas in with the eggs, butter, and sugar. I usually do my best to have everything prepped ahead of time, just to make things go smoother. And it's also much more time efficient, especially when you're baking in big batches. If you have everything pre-measured and ready to go, it also makes for an easier cleanup afterwards. It also helps to prevent mistakes along the way. Okay, this is almost where we want it. There will still be a few lumps from the bananas, especially if they're not like super, super ripened, but that's okay. So right now we're going to set this aside, come into our large bowl. Now, I am a gluten-free baker. I very rarely bake anything that's not gluten-free, and typically if I do, it's by request. So we went to sift everything. So this calls for 1.25 cups of flour. So here's my cup.
What kind of flour do you use?
I use King Arthur measure for measure. it's gluten-free, you would not know the difference, so far as taste or texture. And just sift it to get all the lumps out. So that's a cup, here's a quarter cup. Put that in there. Next, we are adding our baking soda, 1 teaspoon. And finally, we are adding our salt. Oh my gosh, I just spilled salt, so let me get some more salt. And this, I'm going to put about 1/8 of a teaspoon because that's about what I spilled out. And put that there. And there we go. Now that this is all mixed together and sifted, we're going to mix this a little bit with the spatula just to make sure that everything is combined. Everything should be very well combined. We don't want any lumps or air pockets or anything like that. To that, we are going to take our wet ingredients, and I like to do it either in halves or in thirds so that it's easier to mix in. Right now I'm using the spatula, but I will switch over to the whisk in just a few. But it's easier to get started with the spatula.
What does baking soda do when you add it to the flour?
It activates it. That's the best way to answer that question. It activates the flour. And here's the last part. And we want to get the bottom of the bowl because that's where the sugar is, even though we mixed it. The sugar and the butter are all at the bottom. So we just want to get all of that goodness. And again, we're going to use spatula just for a second. It does look like a gloopy mess when you're making it, but it is so good in the end. Turning your bowl helps. You want to make sure you get everything off the sides of the bowl as well as the bottom. We don't want any flour left behind. Okay, now I'm going to switch. Okay, kids, don't use the knife like that at home. I would not recommend for safety reasons. I probably shouldn't be doing this myself. I know that my family agrees with me,
Only because you're a kid at heart.
but it's okay. We're gonna be all right. We do have burn marks, but we do not have any stab wounds yet. So I am going to show you. I don't know if you can see the consistency, but you can see bananas in here. Like little pieces of banana, it's perfectly fine. Just keep mixing until fully incorporated. And again, make sure you get everything off the sides as well as the bottom. And finally, the last part of it is to drop in the walnuts. Now, if you have a nut allergy, just do not add any kind of nuts, walnuts, pecans, etc. And then again, stir in. And I like to keep my walnut in larger chunks. Just, I feel like it adds more texture and more flavor. It gives it a little something extra. And this is what it looks like mixed. Now, if you'll give me a second, I'm just going to wipe everything down, rinse everything off, take a quick sip, and spray my baking pan. Guys, do y'all have any questions while we're doing this, or
So,
are there any questions on the feed?
one question, how did you find out that you like baking?
Good question. For me, it's, when I was a kid, I used to bake with my mom all the time. My mom, was in the kitchen 24/7. If you were looking for her, that's where you were gonna find her. Unless it was during working hours, in that case, we could just harass her at work all day long. God bless her. Anyway, but I used to bake with her, for birthdays, or especially Christmas, the holidays. She loved being in the kitchen, and I was right there beside her the whole time, helping her. As I finished my degree late in life, and when I was up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, having finished research paper or studying or what have you, my mind would race and I couldn't stop focusing, and I would have a hard time sleeping. So I would get in the kitchen and I would bake, and it became a stress reliever. And then the pandemic hit, and I really needed it as a stress reliever. I'm sorry, I really want to make sure that my counter is clean. That's a mess for me. A mess at all times. Anyway, so post-pandemic, I was like, great, this is wonderful. I can go ahead and just bake, and it keeps me calm, it keeps me happy. It's a great stress reliever, and best of all, my loved ones get to enjoy whatever it is that I'm making. So they reap the benefits.
Mm-hmm. That we do.
Okay, guys, so I'm going to spray. Would one of y'all please hand me a paper towel or a napkin from under my counter, please? So I'm just spraying with, what is this? HEB baking flour. Spray, sorry about that. We are an HEB family in this house.
That's right.
Thank you so much. After you spray the tin, just make sure and go in with the napkin or paper towel and get all the crevices. Thank you, son, for getting that for me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
And
Beautiful.
make sure that everything is covered so that we don't have any issues when we are taking them out of the loaves. Now, it looks messy, but this is what it looks like. I don't know if you can see. It's basically a butter spray. And we will divvy this in here. We're gonna give it another stir. And see how much we can get into each bowl. Now, I don't use this particular sheet tray very often, so we might get a little messy, folks. Okay, either somebody's watching over me or I'm just being very lucky.
Because this is perfection.
I like how you can see the lumps.
Oh, those are the bananas and the walnuts. and the walnuts are very huge.
It smells so good in here.
Don't you wish we had smell-o-vision like in the
Yeah.
Jetsons?
Uh-huh.
Come on, Jetsons.
Totally can't wait for these to come out of the oven.
Okay.
What particularly got you into being a gluten-free baker as opposed to just a regular flour baker?
Ooh, these are gonna spill over, guys, because I put way too much in some of these wells. So these are gonna be very, very hefty loaves, mini loaves. So what started that was one of my nephews, whom I absolutely love with all my heart, is gluten intolerant, and as such, it was really difficult when we would either go out to eat or like try and find a dessert or even have a family gathering. And I don't know why I'm overfilling the wells. I probably should have stopped, but I'm not going to, just because that's who I am.
Because you're committed.
We are
to this
not
stuff.
wasting this batter.
Well, I mean, I can always make a second tray, but come on, let's be real. So it became really difficult for us to find things. And then as time passed, I realized that I too have a gluten intolerance. He genuinely has a severe reaction to gluten. I do as well, and so do some of my other family members, but I think for us, it's more of like, yeah, we probably shouldn't be eating this, but we're gonna do it anyway. Whereas with him, it was just like, he absolutely positively cannot have it. So at first I started making multiple versions of desserts. I would do like a traditional, and then I would do gluten-free. And I soon learned that one, my loved ones could not tell the difference between the two, which meant that I didn't have to make as much, as many variations of things. And two, it turned out that everybody was having better reactions to the gluten-free version, so why not? Okay. So these puppies are gonna go into the oven at 350 for a large loaf pan, should be for about 40 to 45 minutes, depending on your oven. This one I'm gonna set at 35 and increase from there. And we're gonna cut off here, and then I will come back later with either a pic or a smaller, shorter video where I am not speaking and rambling and going into sing. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this with me, and go stress!